Well, I bet you guys were expecting episode 300 here, weren't you?
The old bait and switch.
Not yet. Today we have yet another One Reel In podcast.
Yay.
It's been a while.
Yeah, we'll get it back.
Yeah.
I promise you guys, we'll get it back.
Okay. Swear to me. But yeah, we're back with another episode. That means we're back to watch a movie.
Mm-hmm.
But after some thinking, we're going less the route of watching B movies and, stuff we can make a lot of fun of. I mean, we'll see. I don't know. Maybe these movies are going to suck.
Yeah.
But we're more watching movies that have a bit more prestige to them, and we can maybe analyze a little more than we would, The Room.
Yeah.
So, without further ado, this episode is going to star Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which you can stream right now on Netflix, which we recommend you do before you continue this episode. So go ahead and pause us, go watch it, come back. This currently has a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. Pretty big deal. Famous for having one of the final performances from Chadwick Boseman, R.I.P., which has gotten a lot of praise from this movie. We talked about it in our early awards talk just a couple episodes ago. And I guess we'll see really what that performance has hidden in it, because we unfortunately haven't had a ton of Chadwick Boseman movies.
Yeah, and he has like a couple of thrillers under his belt that people are like, hey, you should see that one. It's like, I'm not going to watch 21 Bridges. I'm sorry.
No.
I'm just not going to do it.
No.
But this, I hate to be crass, but I need to know for myself if this is a truly an Oscar-worthy performance, or if they're just throwing him one because he passed.
Yeah.
As the Oscars have done in the past.
A memorial award.
Yeah.
They sometimes give out.
So, not to say that he wouldn't be deserving of the award. I mean, I think our track record for, praising him without motivation or what have you speaks for itself.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about him. We talked about his talent. Around the time he was about to die, but nobody knew. So
Right.
Yeah.
Still counts.
Yeah. Exactly. Just to say, like, we're not sitting here, hyping him up because he passed, and we're just gonna throw him a bunch of flowers for no reason. This is serious stuff, baby. We need to know. I need to know. I need to know.
Well, I don't want to talk too much about it before we get into it, so without further ado, let's start the show.
Quiet on the set. Can we please have quiet on the set?
Well, I kind of rethinking this not watching funny B movies thing all of a sudden.
I know we need to just go back to watching garbage, video game movies.
Yeah,
video game adaptions. That's it.
That'd be good.
Let's just watch. The next 8 movies are just going to be Resident Evil 1 through 8.
Okay, can we watch them now? Because I feel like I need that like cleanser afterwards to just feel okay again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of a movie.
That was intense.
Yeah.
I was gonna wait till the end, but I guess I'll just ask it now. Do you feel like it falls under the category of watched it once, I got it, or do you see yourself actually watching that movie again?
I think I'll go back to it.
So okay. Before we let's just for the people, if you don't know, there's a whole we have a whole category for movies, and you probably have these movies yourself, a list of movies where you're like, you watch it and you understand it and you feel it and it's a great movie and all that, everything that the media tells you and all that jazz.
Right.
But that's it. You don't
Never
need to
again.
watch it again. It's too intense. It's
One
too
and done.
emotional. It's just it's too labor intensive. It takes too much out of
It
you.
hurts a lot.
Yeah.
No, I think I'll go back to this one. I think that there is levity in this movie, and just the performances that I'm sure we're gonna talk about more. I think warrant it.
Yeah.
I think I'll go back to it just to rewatch the monologues alone.
Yeah, they were good.
Yep.
God damn, they were good.
Yeah.
I mean, any movie based around a play.
Yeah.
You can,
Which is one of the first things that you mentioned, and I was thinking while watching the movie was like, this feels like a stage play. It just does. It's framed like a stage play. It's directed like a stage play, which actually I just looked up. The director's George C. Wolfe, who is an actor but is also mostly known for theater. So he's only done a handful of movies, so it kind of makes sense that it's like kind of set that way, and it feels like you're watching a stage play.
yeah. I mean, even the scenes between the scenes are more just transitional pieces than they are actual scenes.
You can almost see on the set that's like their transition while they're getting the backgrounds in check, and like changing the lighting and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it definitely it feels like you're watching something at a theater.
Yeah.
But not in the same way, like we were talking about you having an issue with Hamilton getting so much praise and like all these award nominations, and at least in the Golden Globes so far.
Yeah.
Because it's literally a theater show.
Yeah, it's just a
film.
It's like somebody just filmed it in the fucking crowd.
Exactly. But this this is actually a movie, so
Yeah.
it's not that. It just feels that way.
Yeah.
But no, this is full blown movie. I think one of the first things we have to address is like obviously with this kind of aura hanging over the movie of Chadwick Boseman passing, did that affect the way that you watched the movie from the beginning, or was it something you were able to kind of push aside and just take in the performance that he gave?
No, it didn't affect my opinion on the performance. All it did was make me think. I mean, we're really missing out on just what was gonna be just a man.
Yeah.
I honestly, I got a little choked up watching his performance.
I know.
Like, every time he's on screen, I'm just like, I mean, I'll tell you this, because it's a stage play. When you first get into it, it's a little hammy.
Yeah.
Because it's a stage play, it's a little bigger.
You have to get into kind of the language of the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So as it starts out there, it's jiving and this.
Oh,
that.
Viola Davis playing obviously like a way over the top character.
Well, you know what? For the record, I will say, as soon as she's on screen, I bought it.
Yeah.
I bought him with Viola Davis. She's just so good in everything. And when she's like, the minute you see her, I'm like, oh, she's going for it.
Yeah.
She's going for it in this one.
She's not holding back at all.
It's the band rehearsal when they're all kind of shooting the dozens on each other. I'm kind of like I said, it was a little hammy at first, but then like you said, you get into the language of the movie, you kind of immerse yourself a little bit more into the world, and
it's all like
kind
in
of falls into
20s
place.
like
Yeah.
slang and language, but you just kind of you get into the flow after a minute.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that we need to go through necessarily the synopsis of the movie.
I mean, it's basic.
Yeah. Which I meant to say, this movie, my initial my one-liner for this movie is like, it is both more and less than I was expecting at the same time. Because I did my best to not really read up too much about it, because I didn't want to know too much about it going into it. I just wanted to experience it just based off the merits of the movie. So that in mind, I didn't know that it was going to be and we should say spoiler warning, obviously, for
I mean
everything. We expected you to see the movie in that little break that we just had. So,
well, I think for people who don't know, like the One Reel Ins are a complete spoiler cast.
Yeah, for sure.
We're not going to hold back at all.
Yeah, I like to say for the new people.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect it to just take place like in that one location, like the recording studio. I didn't think that that's all it was going to be. I expect this kind of bigger, like almost like if we're talking like theater shows, like almost like a Chicago type thing where it's like, oh, it's about the people outside of the the music, and then it plays a little bit like a musical in ways. But then also on top of that, it's about so much more than music.
Yeah.
It opens itself up to so much more than that.
Yeah.
And it becomes an analogy for a whole lot more.
Oh, man.
So wasn't expecting that. But I was pleasantly surprised that it was there. Unfortunately, it's heart crushing, but it's a very deep movie, but also very succinct. I felt like they really packed a lot in that hour and a half.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. They really succinct is like the best word for it, because the director, George C. Wolfe,
yes,
he had a very clear direction. He had a very clear idea of what he wanted to get across with this movie, what he's trying to say with it. And he did that beautifully. There's no fat on this movie.
No.
It's just
it keeps going.
Yeah. And I love that, because if you're going to do a movie that's intense in this way and emotional in this way, it's like, all right, then let's do this. Let's fucking go for it, right? You get that little bit of levity in the beginning. You got it sprinkled throughout the rest of the movie. But for the most part, it's like, we're moving now.
Yeah.
This car is moving.
Yeah.
So if you're not ready for where we're about to go, don't get in the car, because we're going to have some laughs in the beginning, but it's going to get dark.
It does that thing that some of my favorite movies do, which like they transition into a very serious topic while you're still smiling from the last moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it kind of it hits you in the same way that those moments happen in real life do. Like where you're just kind of like T-boned by this emotion that you didn't expect, but you're in that transitionary phase where you almost feel inappropriate for laughing or smiling at the thing that happened just a beat before.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that awkward feeling of like, wait a minute, where are we going here?
You just like to hurt.
Yeah. Well,
I get it.
I like the fact that something as unreal, I guess, or intangible even.
Maybe
intangible, who can say?
Antangible.
Anti-tangible. As moving pictures on a screen and, just recorded audio can affect you in that way. That is like the purest kind of effect I feel of movies. That's where I find that passion, is that like, ooh, this is making me feel something. And I know that this is something that was recorded on a studio that's been through a press junket and has all this artificial crap promoted all on top of it, but at its core, the story that they're telling and the way they're doing it affected me in this way, in a very real way.
Yeah.
So that's why I like, and had tons of moments like that.
Yeah. So what did we do? Just go through the performances? I mean, the synopsis is pretty easy. They, they're there to cut a record. That's it.
Yeah. A jazz band.
Yeah.
Blues band. A blues band who is backing Ma Rainey, who's actually a real person.
Yeah.
That they kind of use her as this kind of element to craft this story around.
Yeah.
And they're all backing her, and she's the leader of this band and commanding force. So they're all taking her lead,
Sort
except except for Chadwick Boseman's character, Levy Green.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really all about the friction between them and between the band themselves. But again, it expands and has lots of touchstones upon other bigger issues than just music.
I mean, there's so many things at work here. There's so many moving parts.
Yeah.
That warrant. Although I said I only asked the question. I actually didn't say how I felt, but I asked the question of like, is this in the category of one views? And I mean, just everything that they're trying to say with it warrants at least one more view.
Yeah, I think so.
Just because, I mean, there's so many. There's just so much that they're saying with this. I mean, even with each character, has a story that, I mean, you see all these. Man,
everyone gets like a moment within it that you're able to understand.
Slow drag didn't get nothing.
No, that's true. That's true. But I feel like he was more of like almost we needed that so that he's like this. He played off of everyone else, you know, which is it's funny to even say it in that way because I only came to this right now, but it is like they're performing as actors as a band.
Yeah.
They all have their parts.
Yeah.
And like, you know, others are competing for the lead within that relationship. But he's just kind of fine being off on his own.
Slow drag is he's back there and he's keeping the rhythm section tight.
Right.
That's it.
Exactly. And that was his role within this movie too.
Yeah.
So it kind of all makes sense in that way.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I want to talk about Chadwick's performance.
Yeah.
I want to just get it out the way. I just want to talk about it.
Okay. It's fine. It's your show. Right? That's what it is.
I just want to talk about it. What do you want to talk about?
Well,
what how should we frame this?
Here's the thing. I wanted to kind of leave that because that was our major question going into it. Does his untimely death affect this movie and the praise it's been getting?
Okay.
So I say let's leave that for the very end.
Okay.
That's the big question. Let's leave it.
Okay.
Let's think about everything else around it because there's a lot more to talk about this movie outside of his performance. There's a lot to talk about his performance too.
Okay.
But I think maybe let's try to break down some of those nuances on first viewing of like what the movie actually was getting at, what it meant out, even just like the main themes of music, because this is a story on face value about music and about the music industry and about, you know, basically the pimping of musicians in general.
Black musicians.
I was going to say you can take that as an in general thing of the music industry just taking advantage of people. Then a level under that is taking advantage of black artists.
Yeah. And
then a level on top of that is, you know, even this is set in the 20s. From that point, I mean, up until today, it's like a lot of black artists not getting their dues because their talent is being leached off of and given to, you know, people who are more presentable, air quotes, for a wider audience.
White people.
Yes. So, I mean, I feel like even on that level alone, there's so much to unpack.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a lot on the show proper, and I mean, we're guys who want to break into the entertainment business as much as this is going to allow us to do so. I'm a guy who's been trying to break into the music industry, and so I read and learn about these horror stories all the time, and yet it's still, you see something like this, and I know this is a fictionalized version of events, but it's only fictionalized for this movie.
Sure.
This is something that's happened to presumably hundreds of thousands of artists,
Countless, yeah.
who have put their blood, sweat, and tears into something just to see it taken from them, pimped out, rearranged, put under. I mean, shit. Even as recently as people finding out a bunch of Jennifer Lopez's songs were written for Ashanti at first,
Right.
and her finding out, and her telling that story of learning that and being like, what the fuck, just that alone. That's as recent as a couple months ago. People found this out. I mean, it
still happens.
Make no mistake, this is happening right now.
Right.
An artist is writing a song, or an artist has written a song, and under the belief that this is going to be the thing that changes their life, and they're going to give it to some studio or some record label, and it's going to be taken from them and turned into something that they couldn't even imagine and have no idea and have no parts of.
Right.
This is not, and this movie's set in the 20s. It's 2021. This is still happening.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another metaphor for like everything that it was happening back then. I mean, some of those things are still happening. It's like we haven't learned anything.
Yeah.
In some instances.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's that level, and then the other one that immediately comes to mind is like the entire. So we have to get into the character of Levy Green. His entire arc, I feel, as a character has been basically all about rage, but of like an impotent rage, like the frustration of not being able to do anything about your circumstances.
Yeah.
And, I think that was perfectly summed up with the phantom door that he's trying to unlock the entire time.
Right.
Because for a long time, I'm like, what is like, speaking of David Lynch, like this is a very Lynchian thing to like just throw into the mix and like have this mystery door that he's trying to open the entire time. And like, is he going to open it? I don't know.
Yeah.
What's going to be behind the door? But, lo and behold, he finally gets it open at like towards the end of the movie. And what's behind it? Nothing. It's just a brick wall, just brick walls. He's there by himself. And it's like all that anger, all that energy, all that rage. And it leads to what? Nothing. And so like that, I feel, is kind of the summation of his character and what he goes through throughout the entire movie.
Yeah. He's everything about his character is very universal. The things that he struggles with, the anger that he's struggling with. I mean, his selfishness, his it's understandable on one level. It's a lot of the characters in this movie, the way that their viewpoints are so understandable that when Ma Rainey is a good example of like, she seems like such a diva.
Yeah.
On the onset of the movie, you're like, just
I
bend a little.
I started off not liking her pretty much at all.
Yeah.
And then by the time we have that come to Jesus moment where she's talking about, her view of things, and the fact that she's keen to the fact that, they're recording her. Once they have her on recording, she's useless to them, basically. Like, that's it. It's over.
Yeah.
They can play her as much as she want, or as much as they want.
Yeah.
So her point of view makes a lot more sense in that framing, because obviously she's trying to get as much as she can out of these people while she can, because she knows it's not going to last forever.
Yeah.
And she knows at the bottom line, they don't really care about her.
I don't even think she's trying to get anything. I think she's just trying to prove a point.
Yeah.
I think that her I think she has resigned herself, and I think that last frame when they're leaving kind of shows you that she has resigned herself to what this world is at the moment, and all that she can give, and all that she's going to get out of it. She signed that paperwork, and she knew that was it. Yeah, that she had that day of recording, she had fucking squeezed the juice. Yeah, only because she could, and then once it was juiced out, and you've got just nothing but skin and pulp, she drives away, and it's like, that's it. That's all I could do
Right.
And that's all that I have.
But in Levy's point of view, she's accepting the bone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And his point of view is informed by everything that he's gone through.
Right.
And he can't see other people's perspectives in these things. I mean, he mocks everyone else's story.
Mm-hmm.
And it bubbles up to the point of life-threatening.
Right.
Because he can only see his side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
So he can't see where Ma Rainey's coming from. She is somebody who's just taking what the white man is giving her.
Mm-hmm.
We're here because you want to record these songs for the white man. That's it. That's why we're here. But when I get my own band, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
But it also, in some moments, as he does seem to see, like there's that moment where he's like, she tells Mr. whatever his name is to go get her some coke, and he does that because she's got control. I'm going to have control like that with my band.
Right.
So he does see that part, but he doesn't understand the full scope of why and how she got to that point.
And he doesn't have that yet. And I think that leads to another level of frustration within him too.
Yeah.
It's just, and then another thing that came immediately to mind too was this is also like a commentary on black violence too, with the conclusion of the entire thing where, obviously he doesn't get his dues for his work truly with his songwriting. And then he gets enraged because one of the bandmates steps on his shoe. Mm-hmm. It's not really about the shoe. It's not about that at all. Mm-mm. It's about the entire circumstances of his life, and all that frustration boiling over.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just a complete, obvious commentary on that they've.
Well, and he had enough restraint to not kill the producer.
Right.
But the anger boils over once he's around, everybody else. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that's another level of that impotent rage of even if I'm at my lowest, there's still a ceiling that I can't do that.
Well, and I love the visuals that they play with there too. This is a obviously something that would work on the stage, but work really well in film for me. Was the fact that they're having that conversation on stairs.
Yeah.
So you can tell whenever Levy's having the upper hand on the conversation or feeling like he does, he takes a step up. Yeah. And then as soon as he's the producer or the engineer, whatever he was, says you're getting $5 for each of them. That's the best I can do for you.
Yeah.
That's I'm doing you a favor. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Immediately he takes a step down.
Right.
It's and then overall, ultimately he ends up descending down back into the pit where he belongs.
Yeah.
All that stuff worked really well for me.
I wonder if that's part of the stage play. I wonder how many elements they took from the stage play and put it into the film. I mean, you can definitely tell in the monologues that it's this is a spotlight moment.
Yeah.
And I would like to see how that works with an actual blues band playing those parts in between, when they're rehearsing and when they're recording and stuff like that. That would be really cool.
I would think that they'd have an actual live blues band there, in the pit to play, while the scenes are transitioning and stuff. So that'd be pretty cool.
That would be cool.
It looked like from what I read briefly that the play was made in the 80s. So
okay.
I mean, obviously, live theater's dead right now, but maybe in the after years we'll get to see.
Yeah, maybe
revival.
we can zoom it.
I guess
we'll just have a row of laptops.
Yeah, that'd be great. Put yourself on mute. You're not on mute.
It's not your monologue. Mute your laptop. It's not your monologue.
Well, okay. I mean, I feel are there any other major threads that we've missed so far that you caught on to?
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay. Well, I want to transition now to what we thought about Chadwick Boseman and his entire performance, and ultimately what you thought as far as credibility for award season.
Do you want to talk about Viola Davis first, or?
No. I mean, okay, sure. Yeah, let's give her flowers.
Yeah, I mean, I think she deserves them. I think
for sure.
She just kind of nails it again. Viola Davis, there's that video that went viral of her where she's like, they want me to be the next Meryl Streep, or they call me the next Meryl Streep, or whatever. And she's like, I got Oscars, I got Emmys, I got all this shit, and I'm still just the next Meryl Streep or whatever, or the black Meryl Streep or whatever. And I mean, it's hard not to compare them as far as like film success is concerned, because Meryl Streep is so good and has been so consistently good for her, basically her entire career, and her career spanned decades.
Right.
That it's hard not to compare them. But I mean, Viola Davis, I mean, obviously she's her own actress. She's a powerhouse. She's incredible. We love her. I only bring up the Meryl Streep thing because, like, I mean, Viola Davis is I mean, right there with her. And this is just another thing where you're like, oh, okay, Viola Davis is just going to be a part of award season. Yeah. Like, every time she puts a movie out, she's just going to be a part of the award season. And to me, that's where the comparisons stop, is that she's so good that every time she does a movie, she's just going to be a part. I mean, even movies, there's one movie that she did, I can't remember what the name is right now, but she got either nominated, or they were talking about nominating her, and I thought, like, I didn't even think people even fucking liked that movie.
Maybe they didn't,
but
they could have just liked her performance.
And this is just, like I said, as soon as she gets on screen, I'm like, oh, she's going all in.
And it's a thing where they completely inhabit the role.
Yeah.
Where you could have not told me that was Viola Davis, and I would have been like, I don't know who that is, but she sure seems like Ma Rainey to me.
Yeah.
It's an iconic, in my first viewing of this movie, performance from her.
Yeah. I can't say enough about her. She's just so goddamn good in this movie.
Yeah. Chews it up.
She just, chews up the scenery. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking about her monologue about, where we start to understand her perspective and where she's coming from and why she's treating her manager and the engineer, producer, why she's treating them that way, why she's doing the things that she's doing. She's queer, which is another thing, another element of, like, from what I understand, Ma Rainey actually was gay. So that's another thing. That's another element of, I mean, can you imagine being a black woman in the 20s, the leader of some blues band, and she's gay,
right?
And she's treating these white men like this. I mean, it's fucking, it's mind blowing.
Yeah,
it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
So, and she, like you said, I mean, she completely inhabits the role. I would be not shocked or surprised, but incredibly disappointed if she wasn't at least nominated for Best Supporting.
She has to be. Yeah, there's no way we get around that. I mean, even with a incredible performance, it's really all around.
Everyone kills it, because
it almost plays as an ensemble a lot of the time. It's not really just these two characters. So I think it's important to note that. But I mean, they have to be that good to keep up with specifically Chadwick Boseman and Viola Davis.
Yeah.
In this movie in particular. So yeah, I mean, all praise is due.
Mm-hmm.
However, as I was saying,
yes, as you were, sir.
Yes, the late great Chadwick Boseman. I mean, I want your impressions first, as far as how you felt he inhabited that role. And again, just, I guess I already asked this of you, but if his untimely passing had any effect on you seeing it and your reception to it.
His passing only makes you think what we're going to miss out on, what we're not going to get as fans of film in general and as fans of Chadwick Boseman. Like, I mean, we watched the last one reel in we did was The Five Bloods, in which he puts on another powerhouse performance. But this one is better than that.
Oh yeah,
so yeah, just to answer your question, it didn't affect it. As I was watching it, he pulls you in enough that I'm not thinking so much, oh man, this is his last movie. I'm in it. He's really doing a good job of here's okay. I can't remember what magazine it was. I think it was Time Magazine or Newsweek. One of them recently voted Denzel Washington as the best actor of the 21st century, or I can't remember if it's the 20th century or the 21st century. They put him ahead of a lot of people. I mean, Pacino, Redford,
right.
De Niro, Newman, all of them. They put him ahead of all of them. They voted him the best actor of the 21st century, which you can argue till the cows come home,
sure,
if you will. But there are plenty of people who would say, yeah, what's the argument?
He's also a producer on this movie.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Funny enough.
And Denzel, for my money, I mean, I would definitely put him top 3. Every time I see him in a movie, I'm like, he's probably number 1. But then I've already said that Pacino's probably my favorite actor.
Sure.
So, anyway, the reason I bring up De Niro is because, I mean, not De Niro, Denzel, is because for every positive thing that you can say about Denzel, the one negative that I can think of about him as an actor is he's, to me, unbelievable as a weak character. He's just too charismatic. He's too strong and I say too strong as in, in this, not to say that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying he's just, when I see him, and maybe it's just my own life and my own perception, but whenever I see him on screen, I think like, I mean, he seems like a person that I would listen to, that I would follow, that like he's such a leader on screen.
Yeah.
He is the embodiment of A+ leading man. You can put him in anything. He's going to crush it, but he's going to be the guy.
Yeah.
And so if he's ever played a role like that, probably early on in his career. I can't think of any mid-career, like, when he was at the top of the mountain roles that were, he was a weak, insecure person. He exudes strength and charisma and confidence.
Yeah.
Whereas this role for Chadwick Boseman, I mean, Chadwick, he's really showing his range in these last couple of roles. I mean, for obviously Black Panther is the big one, and that's the Denzel role, right? That's the confidence and the charisma and the leading man role, the triple A+ leading
action
man
star
role, right?
Yeah.
But this, I mean, his anger and his insecurity and his weakness, it's believable. It's believable.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he was able to look so large in Black Panther and in this movie look so small. Even when he's playing, and he looks amazing playing, he looks like he's actually doing it. Even when he's doing that, you see this confidence, but it's a facade, right? And every time he has a monologue, his eyes are welling up. Every time he talks, and he's not joking, his eyes are welling up because it's like right there at the surface what is driving him.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. It kind of makes me want to cry. It's so good. It's
Yeah.
such a good performance. Yeah, I mean, when you see that he passed and you see all of the press that the movie got, you're like, okay, are they just gonna? And I had half a mind that that's what they were doing.
Yeah.
But no, this is completely earned.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have to agree. It's completely legit. And like you said, just his range is incredible in this movie. I unfortunately haven't seen many Chadwick Boseman movies. I plan on going back and going through the catalog just to catch any other glimmers of what we're missing out on now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but as far as ones to go out on, like this, I can only imagine if he hadn't passed, this would have skyrocketed him into a different level. Beyond just the action movie and Marvel nerds and into something even bigger.
Yeah.
So in a way I would say that his untimely passing did affect me while watching it, but only in that kind of sadness of what we're missing out on, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that too, I couldn't help but when Levy has these monologues about the cruelty of life and this entire rage fueled monologue about God.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't help but just be like, this sucks to hear coming from this actor that knowing the circumstances, like understanding where his head may have been at in those moments and where that may have been channeling from. That took it to another level for me where I don't want to say it took me out of the movie because I was still obviously engaged in seeing him as that character, but I couldn't help but remove him from that character for a moment and just be like, this is almost too real in these moments.
It's hard not to think about.
Yeah. So that took it to an entire another level, and that was rough to see. But I just think he can't get enough praise for this role in particular. I think the movie in general, really surprisingly good. I have a bit of a prejudice against Netflix movies. I haven't seen Roma, which as a film guy, I know that's weird.
Boo.
I understand, but I don't know. I mean, from a lot of the Netflix movies I've seen, like Netflix produced or whatever movies, the quality is like almost there, but not quite.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of felt that way about The Five Bloods.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's almost there. There's a lot of good things there, but it's not quite there.
There's little things that people don't understand where that money goes in these big budget movies. And dude, it goes to making that thing look more realistic. It goes to making it goes to, we can shoot on site so that you're immersed in this world. Yeah. Right? And like The Five Bloods, there's moments where they're like, I'm not even a gun guy. And you can look at the guns and just be like, those just don't look right.
Don't look good.
Yeah, there's just there's little things.
Yeah. So, that being said, like, this felt like a movie made on a budget, but the fact that all the performances are so strong and the story is so strong and the writing is so strong, and the fact that it's framed kind of as a stage play didn't bother me in the least bit. Yeah. Like it's fine. It almost works in like, in the way a lot of like really low budget movies work, where it's just like two sets. That's all you got. And just kind of working with that, like a Reservoir Dogs or something. And I think it works kind of to its benefit because you kind of get to live in that world, and it makes you kind of focus in on those performances as opposed to, these giant set pieces and, CG planes and crap.
Yeah, and it helps shrink the movie into what we're really supposed to be focusing on, which is not that Ma Rainey is the mother of the blues, this big blues singer who is probably at this point really successful. I mean, she talks about how, like, I've got my tour down south. I've made more money for this studio than any one of the artists that comes in here and records. So she, at this point, is pretty successful. I mean, by the way that the producers are acting too. Like, they need this record from her. They need it.
Yeah.
So they're bending over backwards for her because they need it, and she knows that they need it, right?
Yep.
So she's really successful. So this movie could have been about her tour. It could have been. We could have seen her in different cities. We could have seen big, large crowds. We could have seen, like you said, scenes where they're in a plane. It's like, wow, they're in a plane or whatever.
Right. It being what's in it? Not a timepiece, because that's a watch.
A period piece.
Period piece. Yes.
Yeah.
It being a period piece. Obviously anything that they shoot outside of that building is going to cost a lot of money.
Right.
So, they clearly just worked within those confines for the most part.
Yeah. But you scale it down, and then you focus on the stuff in between the stuff. And that's what this movie was about.
Yeah.
That's what they were trying to get across, was that the reason she is who she is because of this.
Yeah.
The reason that this studio is what it is because of this. The reason that this band is what it is because of this.
Yeah.
So I think it to scale it down is I mean, we've talked about it before, but creativity being born out of limitations.
Sure, and I feel like that's the case for specifically what came to mind as I was watching it was Levy's monologue about his dad getting vengeance. This entire story about him going after the people who attacked his wife, and I could see that in a bigger budget movie being an actual filmed
flashback
thing. Yeah.
Yep.
And us actually seeing that entire
I had the
thing.
same thought.
And as cool as that would have been, as engrossing and as good as that would have been as a scene that we're watching, it would have robbed us of an incredible monologue.
Yep.
And it worked almost. It reminded me a bit of in Jaws, like the story that they tell on the boat. On the boat, that time when they're on the boat.
Yeah. When they're on the boat.
Talking about the shipwreck and everyone getting eaten by the sharks.
Yeah.
Like that looms so heavy on the entire rest of the movie, not because we see it, but because we get that performance.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's how that worked in this movie.
And not only that, but it brings you into the world, because if you got a flashback and you've got this big budget and you bring in some like Ving Rhames or somebody to like play his dad, and you're like, oh cool, they got like a big budget cameo.
Now listen, Denzel, I know that you're a producer,
but
can we borrow you for maybe 3 days?
and that would have been amazing to see, but when he tells it, you have to imagine it the way everyone else has to imagine it.
Yeah.
And when he shows his scar to prove what he's saying,
Right.
that moment is amplified versus if you had seen a flashback. The flashbacks in a movie, unless they're being told by an unreliable narrator, flashbacks in a movie kind of just prove whatever the person is saying, right?
Yeah.
So if they tell you something and then you cut to a flashback, it's like, all right, these events happen and this is how they happen, right? And they work to, good effect, bad effect, whatever. But hearing him tell the story and then seeing the scar, and then you go, oh, he's not lying.
Right.
Because the whole thing is circled around them all just jiving. They're talking shit. They could be blowing smoke up each other's ass. You don't know their stories.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, hell, that scar could be a lie, but the way that he tells it, you're like, oh no, that's too real.
No, it's backed by his actions throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
That motivates him, his otherwise insane reactions to things.
Yeah.
Because you understand that's what's really fueling this.
Yeah.
So that was a movie.
That was a movie.
I don't think either of us were expecting it to be that dark, that heavy. But
no, because the way that it starts, dude, I was smiling from ear to ear. I thought it was hilarious.
I genuinely thought we were gonna get like almost a musical, and like us have just this kind of jaunty story about blues singers and this time of the 1920s and like, you know, make it ritzy and neat.
I was thinking like, okay, I wonder how he gets so much praise, because if he's just gonna be, you know, sliding across the floor, I'm like, I get it, but is that Oscar worthy? I don't know.
Right.
But
we got something there.
But see, here's the thing: big monologues don't make Oscar-worthy performances too, because you can get that and still kind of be like, well, you know, it's not the best thing I've seen in the world just because he has a long monologue.
Oh, it has to be good.
Yeah, yeah.
If it's a long bad monologue, it's still bad,
dude. And I mean, is there anything worse than like just watching an actor just go, and you're like, this is doing nothing for me?
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. It's a risk.
Yeah.
But I mean, it definitely paid off in this movie. I think everyone. There wasn't really a weak piece in the entire cast that I could come across.
No.
Yeah, I enjoyed it top to bottom. I think there's a lot to unpack.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if for some reason you're watching this and you haven't watched it, I still recommend watching it just for the performances.
Yeah.
Just be ready for something a little heavy.
Yeah, I mean, we could be even now be doing it a disservice by not really tackling everything.
Oh, I am 100% sure we're not tackling everything in this movie. Again, we just watched it once, so be kind.
I mean, this is one reel in.
One. Just
the one.
But I think we did our best here.
I think we did our best.
I think we did our very best. So, out of 6 bottle caps, what would you give it?
5.5.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 5.5.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to give it a 6. I'm trying to think what didn't I like about the movie that would prevent me from giving it a 6. Because see, here's the thing. I mean, if I give it a 6 out of 6, I've got to justify that 6 out of 6.
You definitely
right?
do.
And I mean, we got to think about other 6 out of 6 movies.
And mind you, 6 out of 6 doesn't mean perfect. It means a masterpiece.
Yeah.
So
is this a masterpiece? It's too early to tell. I'm going to stick with 5.5, 5.5 bottle caps. I think it's near perfect. I think I'm going to have to watch it. And, you know, as far as movies concerned, I think movies, more so than anything else, need time to really say this is a masterpiece. This is something that is going to move the culture. This is going to affect people in a way that other pieces of art can't. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to stick with my 5.5.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm going to give it a 5.5 as well. And I think that's almost entirely to do with the performances they get in it. I don't think they do anything crazy with direction very much, except for the couple nice little touches I mentioned. It's very basic as far as that goes, but it doesn't need to be anything flashy. I think it kind of works in its favor that it's nothing, no major tilt cam, freaking bullet time, stuff like that. Like it never goes too crazy, and that it works for that. I mean, I think that if they would have thrown a little bit more money at it, it could have looked a little bit better, visual effects wise. The times that they're outside of the studio feel stagey to me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It feels like they're on a set.
Right.
When
like a soundstage.
It
feels like they're like in the back lots of Universal or something.
Yeah.
But again, like it doesn't hurt the movie that much.
Well, it doesn't hurt the performances. It does kind of take you out of the movie a little bit.
Yeah.
And you just and look, hey, listen, I'm all for taking the white man down a peg, but I mean the white people in this movie are like they're just caricatures.
Oh yeah,
they're just like these haunting figures in the and you know what? Maybe that's what they were to black people in the 20s. So maybe that's intentional.
Yeah.
So maybe
scowling, silent faces.
They walk into the store and they're just like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's how they reacted.
Could have been.
When
Could have been.
Black folks walked into a store looking for a Coca-Cola.
Yep.
With Coke in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a straight up Coca-Cola, and she was guzzling those things.
They should just clip that out and make it a commercial.
Where she's just housing them.
It's back when they had cocaine in it, so it makes sense.
Yeah. She was oh, yeah. Yeah. She got done. It was like, all right, now we can go.
I can't feel my tongue. But, yeah, I mean, that being said, definitely recommend it.
Yes.
And recommend it if you did watch it like you should have. Rewatch it. Let us know what you think.
That's right.
You think we got it?
I think so, sir. I think so, yeah.
Nice. We'll be back again soon. Don't you worry. I know it's been a while. We'll be back. This has been the One Reel In podcast. I've got myself, Marco Dupa, and also the illustrious guest, Adam Obesius Rodriguez.
We love you.
That's weird.
We'll tighten it up.
Goodbye.